This is our third season growing in this property, and every year it gets better. Last year we expanded the garden and added chickens. This year we are growing perennials like berries and asparagus. Hi friends, welcome back to our urban homestead. If you are new here, thanks for stopping by and I hope you stick around. My name is Laura. I am married to my husband Glenn. I am a homeschooling mom of 2 boys, a homemaker, a believer and follower of the Lord Jesus Christ, and I love cooking from scratch and feeding my family healthy meals. We've been working so hard the last few months to get our garden to where it is today, and I'm excited to show you what we have growing in our garden. Our main growing space is about 1,500 square feet, and I've set a goal for us to grow 1,000 pounds of food this year, which is a little over double what we grew last year. Today is June 22, exactly 2 weeks from my last garden tour, and the growth in the last 2 weeks has been unbelievable. We've had a whole week with temperatures in the 90s, and most of our plants have thrived in this weather. This garlic right behind me has been growing since October, so I am so excited to see what's actually happened underneath. These look ready to harvest, so I think in a few days we are going to harvest these. You can tell that these garlic are ready to be harvested because the bottom leaves are dry. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 leaves that are dry. So these are definitely ready to harvest. We have over 100 garlic bulbs that we will be harvesting. Half of these are soft neck. These did not develop garlic scapes. And half of these are hard neck varieties. And we were able to harvest garlic scapes. And that was exciting for me because that was my first time and also very delicious. Another thing we're growing a lot of in this garden is chamomile. All of this chamomile just came up on its own from last year. I did not have to plant it again this year. It just started coming up everywhere. And I am constantly having to uproot new smaller plants because they are just everywhere. And we do enjoy chamomile tea, but actually we have so much chamomile this year that we don't need all of it. We actually decided just a few days ago to uproot some of the chamomile plants because we just have so much. We even have a lot of chamomile left over from last year, so we don't need as much this year. But these are still fun to have in the garden. Not only are they beautiful, but obviously having this medicinal plant is just amazing. Can you see all this growth behind me? This is our zucchini bed, and we have about 12 zucchini plants and they are doing phenomenal. The ones towards the back are actually bigger because the ones closer to me were planted a little bit later. I actually had to plant again because the first set of seeds that I planted did not germinate. I also planted some borage plants in between these zucchini plants because they make great companion plants. So this is the borage right here, and this bed is just so exciting. And I've already seen some flowers, and I am thinking that maybe next week we're going to be harvesting some zucchini already. We are growing so many onions this year. My attempt is to grow enough onions to last us for the year. But I think I have to be honest with myself and know that's not going to happen because we just eat a lot of onions. And I have at least 300 onions here in these 3 beds that we have, but I know it's not enough. But these onions are all doing well. I started them all from seed. I have a few different varieties here. So I have these 2 raised beds full of onions here, and then I have a long in-ground bed that is full of onions as well. We have been harvesting the green tops and including them in anything like stir fries or like as a garnish over our scrambled eggs, just anything really, sometimes on our guacamole, just anything to give it some extra fresh flavor, and we have been enjoying doing that. In this bed behind me, I also have 2 huge radish plants. When I first transplanted the onion seedlings, I Also planted some radish seeds, and those grew up very quickly, and we harvested all the radishes, and now the onions are taking over the entire space. I let 2 radishes go to seed because I thought it'd be really cool to collect some seeds for next year. But I did not realize that these radish plants would get so big and bushy, and I am probably going to have to wait for a while until these seeds are ready. We are also growing a lot of tomatoes, and this is one of my tomato beds. This is the tomato bed that has all our paste tomatoes. So here we have Amish paste tomatoes, and then we also have Sheboygan tomatoes. And I am really looking forward to this. I know one of my goals this year is to be able to make enough tomato sauce that I can freeze or can for the winter time. So in this bed, I also have interplanted onions. I have a whole row of onions here, and then I also have lots of basil plants along this area. These plants are also tall enough that they have finally reached the cattle panel trellis, so they are starting to trellis, and that is exciting. I have been pruning these plants, so some of them have been pruned to a single stem, some of them to a double stem. All these plants have flowers. I have 2 other beds full of tomatoes, and those are also doing fantastic. These 2 other beds are cherry tomatoes, and they also have other things interplanted with them, like basil, or these ones here have Corno di Toro peppers. Over here we have some celery that is growing in between the tomatoes. And in between the 2 rows of tomatoes, we have carrots growing, we have beets. So there's just a lot going on here. In total, we have 45 tomato plants. So I am excited, and I am really hopeful that this year we are going to have a great tomato harvest. I am so excited about this bed behind me. This is technically our asparagus bed, but because we just planted asparagus this year and they're not going to get huge, I decided to plant some other things in there, like bell peppers and also some determinate cherry tomatoes. So there's a lot going on in this bed, and these peppers are looking great. I am seriously so excited because I have tried growing peppers in the past, and I have never had my peppers look like this. These ones here are the Corno di Toro variety, and they are getting so tall, and it has so many flowers and some tiny little peppers that are starting to grow. This California Wonder pepper is just looking so gorgeous, and it's only June. Last year at this time, my pepper plants were still so tiny, and they didn't really grow that much the entire year, and we only harvested 1 tiny pepper per plant last year. In total, we have about 15 pepper plants that are growing in this bed, and also some that are growing interplanted with the tomatoes. So this is exciting. I am expecting a lot of peppers this year, and we are really looking forward to it. We are growing beets all over the garden, and because we are practicing the companion planting method, we just kind of have these spread out all throughout. We have these in different beds. We have a row of these beets growing in between the cucumber rows, and over here by the tomatoes. We just have beets all over the place, and they make perfect companions for so many plants. I am over here in the area of the garden where we are growing all kinds of berries. We have 2 blueberry beds, and we have 3 plants in each bed. So 5 of those plants are growing well. 1 of them is not growing at all, and that one, I'm sure it's completely dead. Then I also transplanted some of these strawberries here in one of these blueberry beds. They're doing well, and you can see some of these are starting to send out their runners, and so they are going to continue to multiply over here in this area. And then also right behind me, we have the raspberry bed, and all 3 of our raspberry plants are growing well. You can see in this one, it looks like this plant is starting to spread because we see new shoots coming out in different parts of the bed, which is really exciting. And to make use of this space, I also planted some radishes. So I have this row right here. And just a few days ago, this is where I planted our newest row of carrots. So like I said before, we have carrots growing everywhere, and this is one of our newest spots for carrots. We are also growing green beans in the raspberry and blackberry beds. And this is exciting because these are already starting to climb up the trellis. And our blackberries are also doing well. This one is already starting to turn red, but I think it's going to be a little while still till it is ready to harvest. We are also growing bush green beans along the other side of the bed. So we have the pole beans over there by the trellis, and then bush green beans over here. This is the area where I originally planted some garlic, spring garlic, but none of those came up. So I decided to put some bush green beans there, and they're growing very nicely. So this is what's happening in our berry patch. Lots of exciting things, except that I was hoping we were going to be able to harvest some of these berries this year. And I don't know if that's going to be possible. Definitely not for the blueberries, I don't think, or the raspberries. We are going to get maybe like 2 or 3 blackberries, but I don't know. Let me show you our strawberry green stalk because that's been more exciting. There are some plants that are already sending out their runners, and I am able to use these runners to fill in some of those empty spaces that I had. So this whole bed is really starting to fill out very nicely. However, I think the end of strawberry season is coming up soon, and I am so sad to report that we only got a handful of strawberries from this entire green stalk. So I am hoping that next year will be better since these plants will be established. Hopefully they'll be able to overwinter here, and they'll be much better next year. I am not impressed by what's happening over here in this green stalk. And over here I have some leafy greens. So I have lettuce, I have Swiss chard, I have kale, I had cilantro, and I have a few jalapeno plants. But I don't think they're thriving. I think they're surviving. And I'm not very pleased with that. So it could just be me. Maybe there's a little bit of a learning curve here that I'm just not getting the hang of it. I know it's been really hot this week, but we've kept it watered very well. So I don't know what it is. But I do have some seeds started to be able to replace my lettuce plants. And then also I wanted to get more Swiss chard planted because the ones here in this green stalk, they're okay, but I want more. I want bigger. I want better. And I know we can do that. So I already have some seedlings going to replace those plants. And I want to think about what I want to do over here, if there's anything that I want to remove or replace, or just kind of pivot from here and change my original plan. I think this sunflower wall is actually going very well. These sunflowers are growing very nicely. And I even have these new seedlings that just came up because I planted them maybe about a week or so ago. But just in case any of these didn't turn out, I planted a whole bunch of black sunflowers and also mammoth sunflowers to replace any of these. So it looks like I'm gonna have lots of extra sunflowers that I'm gonna need to figure out what to do with. This is our butternut squash bed, and I am so excited for this. So I have 2 rows of butternut squash and 7 butternut squash plants on each row. So 14 in total here. But then also in between the 2 rows, I planted watermelons. And just because I wasn't sure how we were going to do with the sunflowers, I also decided to plant some sunflowers over here as well. So there's a lot going on in this bed. Some of these plants are getting long enough. They are almost to the bottom of the trellis. So this one is getting ready to start trellising up. And so in the next couple of days, I'm just going to come and I'm going to tie these so that they can be secured to the trellis system. If you saw my last video, you saw that we have a huge patch of volunteer plants, lots of volunteer tomatoes and also volunteer squash plants. These plants were getting so tall and they were going to start toppling over, and then that was just going to make it very difficult for us to harvest and to manage the plants. And so we decided to do something about that. We decided to create this arch trellis over here, and we are trellising up some of these plants to grow up that side of the trellis. The plants in the middle, I don't know if you can see, they are being tied up to the top of the trellis, so they have strings that way. And then these other plants, we're just kind of having them grow towards the side so they can grow also up the trellis that way. The thing is that we don't even know what type of plants these are. We don't even know if they are determinate or indeterminate, but we decided to prune them all and to treat them as if they are indeterminate. And if they're not, oh well, no big deal. We'll take what we can. But that's what we decided to do because it is more manageable for us. I am loving this so much. And because I'm loving it so much, I decided that I want the same thing over here. We have another cattle panel trellis that is just sitting around. It's an extra one we have, so we can make another one here, and I think that's going to be perfect. We could actually probably grow stuff underneath throughout the summer, like some crops that like a little bit more shade, like lettuces and stuff. We decided to create an archway over here for these squash plants, and we got rid of a lot of the squash plants because there were just too many and it was way too much. And I think we have about maybe 5 or 6 plants that are now climbing over this trellis, and they're doing well. Some of them already have fruit that is growing, so that's very exciting. Here is another one of our beds. We are growing cucumbers on both of these sides, and in between the 2 cucumber rows you can see that we're growing carrots. And then on this other row I planted beets, but again those beets that came up just started disappearing because something was eating them. But we do have some beets over here, and like I said before, that's what we like to do, just interplant the carrots and the beets anywhere we can, wherever we find space, and that is working really well for us. I had a few extra jalapeno plants that I didn't know what to do with, so I just planted them here in between these cucumbers, and they are doing well. They're looking a little bit yellow because I think they were just stressed for being in a small container before I transplanted them here. Now that they've been here for over a week, they are their new growth is looking nice and green, so I'm excited about this. I think this is going to work really well. I love this bed right behind me. This is our cabbage bed, and it is doing so well. It is so exciting, and I know 4 of these are ready to be harvested this week already, and that is so exciting. And we covered this bed with netting because otherwise they would not stand a chance against the cabbage moths and their caterpillars. And even though this bed is covered all the time, we still have issues every once in a while with little worms here and there. I just noticed this. I have no idea what's going on here. Seriously, no clue. What is that? It's almost like it tried to form a head, but it didn't work out. I don't know. I think when we harvest the cabbage, I think we're going to remove this one and just see what's going on. But here's another one. Something's going on here. I think these are probably infested with caterpillars, and that's why it couldn't form a head and it looks all chewed up. So it looks like 2 of them got infested with caterpillars, and when we harvest our cabbages in the next few days, we're just gonna have to remove those. I have already started some more cabbage seedlings so that when this bed is cleared out, I can transplant new cabbage plants here. I have over 15 plants in this bed, and I decided that next time I'm not going to go over 15. I think 15 is enough, and I'm not going to plant other things in it like I did this time around. I tried to interplant beets, and I also had lettuce growing in here, but I think it's just too much. 3 rows of 5 will be enough. I am absolutely excited about this bed. We love cabbages. We also know that organic cabbage is very expensive in the store, so this is very exciting. This is our kale bed, and this is by far one of my favorite beds because this is the one that I tend to plant the earliest in the season, and I'm harvesting from this bed in early May. So it has been really good for us. These plants in this bed are growing really well. The younger kales that we had here in the front are growing very well. The collard greens are also getting big. So this is really exciting. I had a whole bunch of lettuce here that I removed this past week because they had bolted and gone to seed. We have a lot of kale in here that needs to be harvested in the next few days. Thank you so much for hanging with me. It is very windy today. It is going to storm tonight, so I am hoping this rain will be wonderful for our plants. But that is what we have growing in our garden, and thank you for coming along. If you enjoy this content, please make sure to subscribe. We will be doing harvest videos in the next week or so, and I'm so excited to show you how we continue to provide food for our family right here in our backyard. I'll see you next time.